Okay, this is the part 2 on the barrel cache. Someone had brought up a good question, something I was already thinking about, how to get that bottom layer that's laying flat out. And I know reaching down in with the arm, my arm isn't long enough to make it all the way to the bottom, but I did give it a try. The only way I could reach it going that way is you have to tilt the barrel. Well, if this is in the ground, that's not very practical. So I had mentioned to this person that I was considering putting the bags vertical, straight up and down with the open part on top, the bottom part of the bag on the bottom. Do that for the bottom layer going all the way across to see if that would work. Well, I tried that out and I ended up with a bunch of stuff that would not repack in here, so that was not a good idea. Someone else had made a comment that what they've done in the past with their barrel caches, they used the cheap 550 cord hammocks. So I went to the local sporting goods stores, outdoor stores, farm fleets, all that stuff, and looked around. And no one had any of the hammocks, and quite frankly, they had very little outdoor stuff left. No cook sets, no freeze-dried pouches, sleeping bags and tents are in short supply, all of it. And it goes along with the canning goods. You can't find a case of canning jars or even a pack of lids right now. Everyone knows time's getting short here, something's going to happen soon, and they're buying stuff up. So I started thinking, did I have anything on hand that I could use as essentially a cargo net for the stuff at the bottom of the barrel? And then I remembered back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they had sniper veils that were on sale everywhere, dirt cheap. Surplus places were essentially giving them away. So I had got a few of them. I still got one or two left that I haven't cut up to use for other purposes. And I tried it out this morning and it works just fine. So basically I got my big ass sling here of the sniper veil. Now on the edge here, if you can see, there is 550 cord type material. It's more nylon that runs along all four edges, and then in the corners you have knots to keep this from getting sucked all the way into the netting, so you can tie it off on stuff. I took 6 foot of 550 cord on each corner, tied it off right in below that knot, and then on the other end I tied a bowline knot for a handle. Bowline will not slip, so that works. Now, how I got this in here, I had this sitting on the ground. I put 2 packs of rice in the bottom here, so about 8 pounds, 2 of the 1 gallon bags in the bottom, lowered this in. Then I had to get that maneuvered where I wanted it in the bottom of the barrel. For that, I decided to use shovel handle, because I would have a shovel with me for digging this in. Use the shovel handle and just move the bag over to where I want it. Put in the next bag, move it into position, next bag, move it into position, and just went layer by layer. Once it got up to about 4 layers, didn't have to use the shovel anymore. You can just set it down where you want it. Now, you end up with a column 2 bags wide on each side. You're going to have some empty space between the outside of the barrel here and your little column. That space is big enough, you can shove another 1 gallon bag on each of the 4 walls right up into that empty space. And then I just kept building up, and doing that till I got all of the rice and beans in here. All 96 pounds of beans, all 96 pounds of rice. Well, I still had room at the very top up against the barrel in the top 2 layers. then I was able to feed in the spice packs. Put those in its place going around. Then start filling in with the ramen over the top of that, feeding in the salt and that around it, and then as I get farther up, start sneaking in some of the mess kits and that stuff till you get all the way up to the top, and everything packed in just fine. One thing I mentioned that I did not have in the last video was a water filter for putting in here, and I remembered I had one sitting somewhere. And this is what it is. This is, I don't know if you're going to find this anymore. I don't know how good this is. I actually got this at a clothing sales about 20 years ago. It's essentially just a cheap 1-quart canteen that has a water filter attached to the drink cap here. I don't use this. It's been sitting in a crate for a long time, alongside the Sniper Veil actually. So I figured bag this up, try to fit it in here, and I was able to get this inside the barrel too by doing this new configuration. So this is going to be in there. Basically this thing, fill the canteen with water, screw the cap on, and then you're supposed to drink from the top from this. But I figure fill this up with water, dry off the outside, make sure that this is good and tight on your seal here. The cap's on there good, and then you can filter your water by squeezing it into whatever pot, canteens, canteen cups, whatever's needed. So I was able to include a water filter in here now. Now when I'll mention this, how much can this little cargo net handle? I actually have about 40 pounds worth of rice and beans on the net right now. It's like the bottom 2 layers and a part, and it pulls it out just fine. You know, I'm not going to be doing it over and over and over and over again, but it works. Pull it up, grab what you want out of there, lower it back down. Good to go. I kept, as I was, these my little cargo lines here, I kept them off to the sides as I was packing the barrel, and then once I got up to the top, I just looped them up on the top of the stack, and then it would be the packing list would be over the top of that. So that's one little change I made, and I got a feeling it's going to work okay. You know, something to think about, how you're going to get that bottom layer out. This is just a little option. Something for you to think on, you know, just making a little cargo net of something. Pretty straightforward. Just see what you can find. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember, essayons.